Alright, this is a quick presentation video thing about reading like an historian, particularly in how we would read a source and analyse and critically think about a source, how we would approach that. Now there are certain questions that we're going to ask of sources, which will hopefully help us all understand how to read a source better. And this is just a review of the topic. You will have already looked at this previously. First question we're going to ask is, what type of source are we looking at? First of all, whether it is a primary or secondary source. Is it a primary source, which means that it is a source that has come out of the time that the source deals with? Is it actually created at the event, during the event, or very close to the event, in the case of some sort of ancient sources? Or is it a secondary source? Was it actually created or written after the event or period or society that it talks about? Next thing, is it a written source? Okay, so once we get past primary or secondary, we've got to work out if it's a written or a physical source. And if it's a written source, you have to work out what type of written source it is. Is it a letter to a person? Is it a speech to a group of people? Is it a diary for yourself? Is it a report to a superior? And all of those options, as well as whatever other option there is, will have certain implications about why the source was written and what they want to say. And if it's a physical source, you need to think about what it is, what type of thing it was used for, and if it's an artifact, if its condition is actually useful at all. But that isn't entirely relevant for this task, so I'm not going to get into that. Second question is, why was it written? And for that, you're going to need to know who the writer was and what did they want to achieve in writing the source. Were they actually interested in writing the most accurate source possible, or did they have a secondary agenda? Did they have an ulterior motive, a hidden reason for writing what they did? And will that reason actually cause them to skew or change the information that's there? You also need to think, obviously, what the source is saying about our topic. If the source doesn't relate to the topic, then that's not terribly helpful, is it? You can just discard that and throw it in the bin. But you need to work out what they're saying about the topic, and this will relate to the reason the source was written. So our previous question, why was it written? What they're saying about the topic and about the event or the society is going to relate to why they were writing. You need to work out just how relevant the source is to what we are trying to discover. So you need to have questions in your mind about what you want to know before you actually go and read the source. And finally for this page, what are some key words that we can look for related to our topic? So you need to think about the topic that we're looking at and the types of words that may actually help you find the most relevant sections in the source, the most useful sections. So given our topic is looking at the effect of religion on the Inca after the Spanish invasion, some particular keywords that may be useful may well be Catholic or conversion or priest, or you can go the other direction entirely and go, is the word pagan going to be very helpful for us, which means that they are not Catholic people and they reject Catholicism or something like that. So you can look for those keywords and find the best sections in the source that's going to help you. Right, next page, is the source useful? And this is obviously going to relate to what the source is saying about what we want to know. Alright, is the source actually going to be useful for us? Does it say enough about what we want to know? Does it actually create a piece of the puzzle that will help us understand what happened and why it happened? Okay, so that's sort of the combination of a bunch of different questions. So the type of source, why it was written, and what they're saying. Okay, you need to work out whether the source that we have is actually worth looking at and worth referencing. Last question, is the source reliable? And this is the most tricky question. It's going to require a lot of critical thinking. You need to work out whether the source is trustworthy. Now this is obviously going to relate to the reason the source was written. Okay, if the writer has a secondary motive to writing their source, they want to impress someone, or they want to impress another society about how fantastic they are, Then you need to work out whether they're going to lie about what happened or change the information slightly to make themselves or other people seem better or other people seem worse. Are they actually going to be telling the truth to their best ability? Chances are they probably won't be. And it's this question that these two pictures here relate to. You've got the investigator on the left, who's looking very closely at the source to try and determine what the truth is. And you have the politician, because politicians say things with their own agenda, with their ulterior hidden motives. They will try and, what we say, propagate themselves. They'll further themselves and say whatever they can, often, not always, obviously, to get what they want. And that is the end of our presentation.